Hey, welcome back. And to all my new listeners, thank you so much for tuning in for the very first time. So today I want to talk about something that I can confidently say all of us will face at some point in time. And then if you're like me, you're going to face this over and over again in life. And that's this whole idea of starting over. And I'm not talking about like the fun, exciting, fresh start kind of starting over. I'm talking more so about the kind that's super humbling, because I found myself saying, I can't believe I'm doing this again, and I can't believe I'm having to start all over again. And the thing about it is there's so many different things we can be starting over, and it can be our faith journey, health. My Snatch 40s journey is something that I've started over and over again before finally making progress. It can be our finances, relationships, mindsets, habits, healing, whatever. And like I said, for me, I haven't had just one restart. I've had to restart certain things over and over again. And so if you find yourself there, I do want to say at the beginning that starting over isn't anything we're supposed to be ashamed of. Starting over isn't proof that we failed either. I think that's the misconception that I've found myself believing. But starting over is actually proof that we just didn't quit. But a lot of times it can feel really heavy to start all over, not because of the fact that we're starting over, but more so because of what we start telling ourselves and the narrative we start to create. So we probably are saying things, at least I found myself, I should be further by now, especially as I'm getting closer to 50, right? Something about 45. Man, when I turned 45 in June, that just made me start thinking about all kinds of stuff. Or sometimes we may tell ourselves that other people don't struggle like this, or if I was more disciplined, or if I was wiser or stronger or whatever, I wouldn't be here again, right? And so a lot of the pain that comes with starting over is not the work of starting over in and of itself, but it's the shame that comes along with it. It's the internal dialogue that we have with ourselves and that feeling of embarrassment that we're back at a place that we really felt like we moved past. And then it also isn't helpful when we compare ourselves to other people, either that we know personally or people we follow on social media, because when we see those highlight reels, or even if we just hear stories of people sharing whatever, or we're just observing someone's life, it always feels like everyone else is moving forward and we're stuck hitting reset when we start over. I don't like to say always and never, because there's always an exception. But for me, I can say that every time I've had to start over, it has felt like, bruh, why am I not moving forward, and why is everyone else moving forward? But the thing is with progress isn't this linear thing, and growth isn't this straight line forward either. It's sometimes this dance where we're going back and forth, and sometimes it's just a full stop, reset, refocus before we move again. But that doesn't mean we're broken. It just means that we're human. And one of the biggest lies that I found myself believing when I've started over, especially if I've restarted the same thing over and over, is that I'm behind. As if life is like this race and everybody's on the same timeline. And the thing about it is, restarting doesn't mean that I've lost something I can never get back, because I'm not starting from zero. I'm starting with the experience that I gained the last time I navigated this, starting with more wisdom, more awareness. Usually I'll have like habits in place, or maybe accountability to try to not go through this again, right? But the thing is that I have more of an understanding of what does not work. Like, I'm very much a person where I'm like, what do I need to do different so this never happens again? And unfortunately, even with that mindset, I have walked through some of the same things over and over again. But the beautiful thing is that nothing is wasted. So even the parts that were difficult and the things that I wish I didn't experience, none of that is wasted. It's all part of helping me become who I am now, right? So it's helped me to get to here, but then it's also a part of helping me become who I need to be in the future, because we should always be evolving and growing. And the thing is that sometimes it takes more than one time to build something that lasts. But here's the thing about it, though, because for those of you who are new, I am definitely someone who has a relationship with God, and that's the lens through which I view everything. And so the beautiful part that I want to encourage you all with is that God never gets tired of restoring us. He doesn't have this list of, oh my gosh, here you go again. His grace doesn't run out because we already faced this. He doesn't say, you don't get any more mercy. You should have learned it the last time. And he doesn't become impatient because we're going through the same thing over and over again. Because if that's the case, none of us would be here if he was sitting here keeping a tally of the times that we had to restart or relearn a lesson. He's not surprised by our progress, but he is committed to being a part of the process of who we're becoming. And the thing about it, too, is in the Bible, it's full of people who didn't get it right the first time or the second or the third. And yet God kept working. He kept shaping them. He kept restoring them. And he kept not only calling them forward, but helping them move forward, because he doesn't shame us for needing a new beginning. He specializes in it, for one, but also he wants to be a part of our process of having a new beginning. And the thing about when you're restarting the same thing over and over again. So I have, the phrase gone around the mountain more than once, right? I'm kind of in a situation like that right now. And I feel like that's almost worse for me than just starting all over something for the first time. When I feel like I've learned the lesson that I thought I needed to learn, and then I go through it again, I feel like that's been the most frustrating thing, because it's like, bruh, why am I still here? What didn't I learn last time? Sometimes I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why am I navigating this again? But it doesn't mean that I didn't learn anything the first time, because there's levels and layers to healing. And sometimes it means that the lesson is deeper than the first time. The healing that needs to come is another layer deeper than the last time. And the thing about it is, if I would have ripped the Band-Aid all the way off the last time, maybe it would have been way too painful. And God in his kindness and his mercy is like, okay, I'm going to bring this back around because I know that you need some more healing. And so the thing about it is, when we go through the same thing over and over again, it's important to not label ourselves a failure because we're still in process, and we're not weak because we're trying again. It's actually really brave to know that you've been through this before and face it again with your head up and say, you know what? Here I am again, but I'm going to start again anyways. And the thing about it is, like I said, shame is a big part of why it's a struggle, for us when we, have to restart the same thing. But how we can shift that and not get caught up in that is we actually have to separate our identity from the outcome. So we did not fail as a person. We are not a failure. We had a setback. We are not broken. We're learning. We're not disqualified even. We're still becoming. And so it's like we have to stop having that negative self-talk. So like, instead of saying I failed again, say I'm getting back up or I'm trying again. Instead of saying like I always mess up, you can say I'm still learning how to do this well. And instead of even saying I should be past this, that's something I've had to kind of remove from my self-talk. Instead, we should say I'm choosing to keep going, because sometimes that's, even though it's the more difficult thing to do, that's the best thing that you can do, is just keep going. Because progress is not perfection. It's literally just persistence and continuing to make that next step towards what we're trying to do. And the thing about it is we don't have to jump to the top of the mountain today. A lot of times I wish I could, though. A lot of times, where they say, can we skip to the good part? That's really where my mind is sometimes. But like I said, we have to just take that next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. And so with that progress, a lot of times we think it's, oh, I finished this. But really, sometimes progress is starting again. Sometimes progress is asking for help. I've had to do that a lot lately in this, past couple of years for sure. Sometimes progress is even admitting that we need to change directions or change the goal. And sometimes progress is like, you're not quitting this time. Maybe when you faced this last time, you quit, and this time you're going to see it through. So if you got back up and you try again, that's progress. If you're choosing hope instead of trying to hide and, get caught up in shame, that's progress. So that's super important to remember too. Now, the thing about it is, like I said, starting over can be it can be very draining. It can be very difficult to navigate because of all of the thoughts and even the lies that we believe. But I want to encourage you with this. If you're tired of starting over, one, remember you're not behind. Remember you're not forgotten. You're not disqualified, and you are not a failure. You're still here, which means your story is still being written. And starting over does not mean that you lost also. It means you're still fighting for your life, your growth, your healing, and your future. And really, you should be proud of that, right? Because every day that you have to continue to do that, that's such a blessing. So my hope and prayer for anyone who's really tired of starting over, or who's discouraged, or if you're carrying shame about having to begin again, my hope and prayer is that you'd be met with grace in this season, and that you would remember that God is not disappointed in you. He actually just wants you to come to him realistically. That's all he wants. It's about relationship. And my also hope and prayer is that you would find courage to just continue to take that next step. And then the peace to release the shame that you were literally never meant to carry. So thank you so much for tuning in. That's what I have for y'all this week. As always, man, take care of yourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Be healthy in your relationships. I love y'all so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.